Welcome to the Knife Junkie podcast, your weekly dose of knife news and information about knives and knife collecting. Here's your host, Bob the Knife Junkie DeMarco.
Welcome to the Knife Junkie podcast. I'm Bob DeMarco. On this edition of the show, I'm welcoming back my good friend Ben Belkin of Jack Wolf Knives to talk about the company's JW Collab line of knives and other brand expansions. Ben made his mark in the knife world by producing his own take on classic slip joint pocket knives using modern materials and superlative manufacturing processes. With excellent designs, builds, and business sense, Ben achieved widespread success with Jack Wolf Knives. Since then, he's expanded the brand's offerings to accommodate most every knife collector and user out there. We'll dig into the philosophy behind Jack Wolf Knives and JW Collab. But first, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and download the show to your favorite podcast app. You can also help support the show by joining right here on YouTube, joining us and becoming a gentleman junkie right here on YouTube, or by becoming a patron at Patreon. Just go to TheKnifeJunkie.com/Patreon. You can get 12% off for an entire year. Bought it once. You can do that, or go to the QR code. Takes you to the same place. That's TheKnifeJunkie.com/Patreon, TheKnifeJunkie.com/Patreon.
Adventure Delivered, your monthly subscription for hand-picked outdoor, survival, EDC, and other cool gear from our expert team of outdoor professionals. TheKnifeJunkie.com/BattleBox. Ben, welcome back to the show, sir.
Thank you, Bob. Good to be here.
Always a pleasure. As we record this in October 2025, you are just home, fresh from Blade Show West 2025. How did that go?
It went very smooth. It's a nice show. It's not the hectic chaos of Atlanta. And so it's the type of show where you get quality time with folks, customers, brand owners, influencers. So I really look forward to it. I like Salt Lake. It's a nice time of year there. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It happened real fast, man. I mean, we flew in on a Thursday, show was Friday, Saturday, on a plane on Sunday, and felt like a blink.
From your very first year at Blade Show, at least in Atlanta, I think it was 2022, maybe 2021. I mean, I've seen your presentation go from a table to a giant booth, like a very comprehensive booth. What's the setup like? I've always wanted to ask you that.
Yeah, so I've collected a few different setups at this point because of the evolution. So, of course, I started at an 8-foot table with a tablecloth and a banner. Made the switch, I think probably the following Blade Show, to a 10-foot booth. And so when you upgrade to the 10-foot booth, you're starting from scratch. You have a 10-foot space instead of an 8-foot table. And you have to decide how you want to use your 10-foot space. And I like to get corner booths. So I have frontage on two sides, which actually means I end up renting 3 tables and buying 3 tablecloths. Because to get 10 feet of coverage in the front, you need 8-foot table and you need like the side of a 2-foot table next to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's an investment. You're investing in something bigger behind you. So we have cool artwork banner and we've got 3 tables. I learned trial and error that it's better when you're standing and people are standing in front of you to have I guess it's a 42-inch table as opposed to a 36-inch table. One's bar height, one's dining table height.
Oh,
it's just more natural. So anybody who's listening to this, thinking about ever getting a booth at Blade Show, plan your tablecloths around taller tables. It's worth it. And then at some point, as we started to get more models, and my strategy used to be put everything that I've ever made, like one of everything at least of all my models on the table. Well, that catalog was growing and the 10-foot booth was getting crowded. So we made the decision to upgrade to a 20-foot space. And that meant a new 20-foot banner, a 16-foot tablecloth, it's still a three tablecloth arrangement, but now there's 4 tables. But man, the elbow room that you have between the difference between a 10-foot and a 20-foot space is like night and day. A 10-foot space, you got two dudes in there, and like that's enough. Like, you don't really have room for a third person in a 10-foot booth. But when you get the 20-foot booth, you can comfortably have 3 people back there, and even 4. And then at the bigger shows, what you see is folks like to kind of hang out at your table, and then you get a critical mass of people, and people begets people. So when you have that 20-foot booth, you end up with like a crew hanging out, which I really like that. Because you go there to spend time with people. And so to have a place where people can feel comfortable and not feel like they're being, scooted. That's one of the advantages of the 20-foot table. Of course, having more out is an advantage, but there's those like unexpected advantages.
It's funny that you say people beget people, because this is something my wife and I noticed years ago when we were living in New York City. And then we kind of quip about this and joke about it to this day. We'll be somewhere and we'll find something interesting, go up to it. No one will be around. And by the time we leave, there are throngs of people. And we're always like, see that? We're rainmakers. We're rainmakers. But really, the concept is people observe other people observing something, and they want to see, oh, what are they looking at? What's such a big deal over there? And really, that does draw people in. I can totally see how a 20-foot table would do that.
Yeah. People, they can get their elbows out, they lean on the counter, and then someone comes up to talk to them because they know them. And before long, you're like a bar,
Yeah.
You got all this bar space for people to mosey on up and get comfortable. And there's knives out so they can play with the knives. It's pretty cool.
Do you think, have you seen any correlation with sales, like people not feeling rushed to leave? Does that lead to sales?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. What happens, and to answer your first question, in Salt Lake, we use the 10-foot table. I think it's more, or the 10-foot booth. I think it's more appropriate for that show for me to not have the 20-foot booth. Like now I can pick and choose where I do what. Atlanta and Texas, we do 20s. Salt Lake, we do 10. And then some of the smaller regional shows, I just bring a tablecloth and just use a table. Now, to answer your question about the sales, one thing you will observe as not only a spectator, but someone behind the table is when the show gets busy and you're in the 8-foot tables, there's people lined up side to side and they're kind of working down the tables.
Mm-hmm.
And how many people can comfortably stand in front of an 8-foot table? Like 4, realistically. And no one wants to hog the table, right? Like most people are courteous of other people's needs to a degree. So if you're talking to me at the table and we're just enjoying a conversation, but you sense the next guy, you're like, I need to wrap this up. Like, I'm hogging.
Yep.
And that happens at the 8-foot tables. So when you get the booth, there's more room for people to stay because now there's space on either side for another person to stay. So you're 4 people to fill up a 8-foot table. Now you've got 20 feet of frontage. So let's just say you've got, 10 people, something like that can comfortably like fill your frontage. And when people aren't pressured to move, they're checking out what you got. Right.
Yeah.
And of course there's I don't know if prestige the right word, like people perceive the booths as bigger businesses, take that for what it's worth. I don't think anybody would dispute that. Not to say there aren't some major heavy hitters who have tables and some really small companies that have booths. Like it's not a rule, but it's a perception thing. And I think there's certainly some people who come to the shows who are like, I'm just skipping the tables. Like I'm just going to go straight to the booths, because they just perceive that's like where the action is.
Yes.
Where it depends on what kind of knife guy you are. Like if you're a knife guy who's interested in what's up and coming in the new makers, like you're excited for the tables, that's where the new guys are. But if you're more casual, you're like, okay, I see the signs back there. Those are the big brands. Like, I'm not interested in everybody here. I just kind of want the mainstream stuff. Those people are going to go to the back into the booths.
Do you experience or have you experienced much theft?
The only thing I've ever had taken off my tables, let's see, I'd have to think of how many shows I've done. I've done every Blade show since 2021. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 15 Blade shows. And I used to do the Gathering. I've done the California Custom Knife Show twice a year for the last few years. I've probably done 25 to 30 shows.
Mhm.
I've only had one thing get taken off my table, and someone took one of my Jack's Ninja Stars off my table. I
Oh,
don't remember
really?
what show it was anymore, you know? So yeah, it's super disappointing. Um, Fortunately, that's not someone swiping 6 knives in one scoop or something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
other people have experienced more theft. Um, but I think there's not much you can do about it when the show's at full tilt. You can't keep an eye on everybody. You're looking people in the eye when you're talking to them. So therefore
Yeah.
you're not looking at people's hands,
Yeah.
right? And outside of that, before the show, after the show, like maybe don't leave all your stuff out and create a target of opportunity. Like I think owners have to be smart about that. But all in all, it's a community of trustworthy people, I think.
Yeah, that's always been my impression. I know every year there's like swift-footed rumor will run through the place. Oh, so and so had a knife stolen, and it's like all points bulletin to find the thief. But that's like I said, rumor and rare. So I was just curious because your knives are pocketable. Your knives you could you could palm them and walk off with them if you were that kind of a guy. But
Yeah, it's you wish that kind of thing doesn't happen. Most of the time it doesn't, but you'd be naive to think it never will, you
yeah.
know.
So, as I mentioned up front, you and I talk about this a lot when you're on Thursday Night Knives, or I'm just talking about you in general. Uh, to me, you're one of those businessmen to aspire or to emulate. Let me put it that way. And you have done something over the past year, maybe a little bit more, that has really proven me right, which is you've diversified. It's like you started, as I mentioned, with your ultra premium slip joint knives, and really got a head of steam built up. Got a lot of models out on a very regular schedule, and got a fan base going. And it also seems like you got desire going, and those who weren't getting your knives weren't able to make the drop or pay that money at that time or whatever. And then once you had that head of steam built up, you diversified. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it stems from I like making things happen. I like to execute. I like to do things. Like, I don't know how to describe that. That's just something that I think is one of my personality traits. Like I'm never just satisfied with the status quo. So everything drives from that. And also I love this. I love what I do. And so it gives me an opportunity to exercise creativity in so many ways. Like, and this is one of the ways I really enjoy expressing and exercising my creativity is, what's ultimately the goal? I would say to put a knife in every pocket,
Yeah.
at least tempt somebody. I don't ever pretend I'll be the brand for every person, but I'd like to at least have an offering for everybody that they can consider. Right. And so what's the strategy there? Well, I started where I felt I could be the most pointed and deliver what I knew the market needed because I was targeting myself as the consumer there and other people who would share my sensibilities and desires for product in the marketplace. And that was a really no expense spared, no corners cut, modern slip joint knife, modern materials, but traditional form. Like that was what I wanted to make. And, it's hard to say if I could have just never made enough of those and just kept them going, would I have ever wanted to branch out? It's hard to say, right? Like if you could just focus your entire energy on expanding that type of product line, would you look to diversify? I don't know, but I don't know that there's any one product that can achieve that. So you listen to what people want and what they have to say, because I'm very open to the feedback. And one of the things you would hear time and time again is, man, I wish you had a more affordable offering, and it's, for some people, they simply don't have it within their budget to purchase a knife that expensive. For other people, it's just a matter of principle. Like, I don't spend that much on a single pocket knife. They'll buy 3 of them at $100 each, but they won't buy one for 300.
Yeah.
And I would never dispute someone's logic, because none of this is logical. They're just emotional purchases to begin with, right? They're all wants. So how you define, how you rationalize buying your wants, like, is none of my business. Everybody has their own ruler for that, for measuring that.
Yeah.
And so then it becomes my job to say, well, what would that person be interested in? And how do I make it make sense within my brand, within my identity, so that I can believe in the product? Because I won't sell anything I won't carry or want one of my friends or my family to carry around. Like, how lame would it be for you to produce a knife that you'd be embarrassed if someone gave a friend or a family as a gift? It's kind of like the way I think about things is like, whatever goes out there with my name, I have to be proud of and be totally willing for all my friends and family to be given those as gifts or spend their hard-earned money on them, either way. So I started really thinking about how to sort of lay it out. And there's a concept in business, in marketing, in sales called good, better, best. And it's a way to sort of structure product offerings. And the way I perceive that is, okay, I started at best. And let's just take the slip joints, because this makes the most sense in this context, because that's the most developed product line I have. So we have best, titanium slip joints, S90V, whatever handle material is out there. It's pretty much carte blanche. We can have whatever we want, and the price reflects that. Okay, better. What does that look like? Well, a more traditional knife with steel bolsters. We can reduce the cost of manufacturing in the materials, in the machine time. We can limit the handle materials available to try to meet a price point, and we can reduce the expense associated with the steel. We can reduce the expense finishing the blades as far as the cosmetic finishes. We can reduce the packaging expense. There's a substantial packaging expense with the premium stuff. There's custom artwork. There's the most nicest microfiber cloth you can get anywhere. There's the metal cans. Like, that's something that we would need to sacrifice to reach the better price point.
There's the leather slip. That's a
The
big
leather
one.
slip. Right. Exactly. So things that you could do without, right? But, so that was the genesis of the Steel series. And then recently an expansion of this price segment called Ultralight, the Ultralight series. And after I developed that and did an initial release, I really started thinking hard about what the good would be in the good, better, best, or the entry level or the attainable price point item, and what I wanted that to look like. And along this journey, I'm getting more brave too, in stepping outside my comfort zone, taking risks, trying new things. Like a lot of this is an evolution of my own growth as a business person. So if you would have asked me to do these things in the first 6 months of sales, I'd have been like, I don't even have the capacity to think about this stuff right now. Like, we're just trying to get this seed out of the ground, But once your seed becomes a sapling and then a small tree, and it gets roots and has some strength and can weather a storm, you start to think like, okay, how do I get my branches out there, right? Get more sun. So I say but I got to give Donnie, my right-hand man, a lot of credit here because this is stuff we talk about all the time. So that was when we conceived the Gateway series. And it's like, okay, what is the Gateway series supposed to be? Well, the Gateway series to me was supposed to be the pinnacle of where value and quality intersect. So like we're not gonna cut corners so that the quality suffers, but we're gonna make decisions that don't create a diminishing return, reducing the perceived value.
Mm.
So, which is tough because now you have even more constraints. And what I thought this product should be, Gateway obviously means the gateway to the brand. Like that's what the art on the box shows. It shows Jack at the gate with his arm pointing at the castle, like welcome, welcome to the family.
Right.
Come on through the gate. And so not only is it the starting point for a Jack Wolf knife collector who wants to not jump right to the premium stuff per se, but also I wanted it to reflect the bridge for the traditional knife collector who may now get tempted by my more modern screw construction offerings. And so that was why I wanted to do it pinned, was because it's like, okay, I've got screw construction on better and best, but if I really want to entice the call it the entry level customer, which is often most traditional knives, production traditional knives are more or less entry level knives anyway. Like case knives are inexpensive. GECs at retail are not super expensive. I mean, they've come up in price for sure.
Yeah.
But Rough Riders are not expensive and Rosecraft is not expensive. Like that's generally where the traditional knife market is. So if I want to have an offering to get these folks into Jack Wolf knives, I don't want it to be so foreign from those other offerings. And so I challenged the manufacturer to do pin construction. And they're like, we can do it. And it's actually less expensive for us because there's way less machining going on. And so there's a lot of decisions there in how those knives were manufactured to reduce cost. Like we have thinner stock, we have flat ground steel, we have as ground finishes.
As ground finish, meaning you're not
right off the machine.
Okay. And it's beautiful. Actually, the satin you get from the grinder or whatever, however that's actually being made, it's beautiful as is. This is the Gateway Barlow, just in case people are wondering why I keep holding it up. This is what you're talking about. You've got steel bolsters, wood too, which is great because I know initially for the premium series, you held off on wood and other natural materials for a long time, but we're now getting that in entry level here. And the pin construction is frankly what I'm used to and what I'm sure most people are used to in the slip joint category.
And a lot of this is like, me stubborn in the beginning. Like I want titanium hardware. I want screws. I want this to be different. But after a few years of doing that, it's like, okay, I want to make something else that's cool. And yeah, those Gateway Barlows and what is ultimately going to become the Gateway series of knives is more of a mass market product. Ultimately, it's less of a niche product. And in hindsight, I'm really glad I progressed the way I did, because I think, as we've seen demonstrated from other brands, it's really hard if you start as a cost-friendly mass market brand to do anything premium, because there's a lot of pushback from fans of your brand who don't want to see you go up market, whether they can afford it or not. It's like one of these interesting psychology observations. And a perfect example, in my opinion, is Leatherman, who made this, made for decades, the blue collar man's tool, right? Like on his tool belt, in his bag. Like we make, and granted, they have expensive Leathermans, but they've always had cost conscious Leathermans, right? And it's like, that is the everyday man's multi-tool. Well, they come out with these knives that are beautiful and they're great, but they were priced outside of what I think most people would agree was for the everyday man. And they
Yeah.
got reamed for it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, especially when it's your first outing in that particular style of knife. I thought that was a little interesting too.
I think their core customers felt abandoned. I think they felt slighted.
Yeah.
I think they felt left behind. And it's harder for a brand like Leatherman. Now, had they done it, I'm just going to quarterback here, right? So take my 2 cents for what it's worth. But my view of it was like, man, if you guys would have started with something more in line price wise with your multi tools,
Yep.
you could have very easily come out with like a version of it with upgraded parts and metals. Just you got to leave something for your boys, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And that's not what people go to Leatherman for, you know. You it seems like you have to train your customer up front, and I hesitate to use the word train, but that's basically what I mean. If you are expecting to pay $300 for a Jack Wolf knife from the very start, when something comes along for $170 or something comes along for $75, it's like, whoa. Especially when it comes with the reputation.
Right. And you use the key word, and it's expecting. And it's about managing customer expectations. That's what it's all about. Like, customers had expected since I started that we produce expensive but very high quality knives. Like, you won't hear anybody, generally speaking, dogging me about the quality of my stuff. We're known for good customer service. We're known for good quality. We're known for being active members of this community. We were never known for having offerings that were more reachable. To me, that was an opportunity. And so, I have to make sure that when I do that, my customers who expect quality from me are not disappointed,
Mm.
right? Because if I came out with a piece of junk, like, no one's going to be happy with that. Um, and I just think it's easier than to go from a luxury brand with more mass market products than the other way around. I think it's really hard to step up market,
Yeah.
honestly.
It's like a film director with an actor. You want an actor who's over the top from the start and who you can pare back on, as opposed to someone who can't quite ever get there. Um, anyway,
Yeah,
that's what pops into my mind.
I
I
agree.
want to talk about JW Collab, but before we do, you mentioned customer service. I personally have never had any customer service, any issues that would require customer service. But what is your philosophy there, and what are the kind of customer service issues that come your way?
That's pretty straightforward. I mean, first of all, I answer every customer service message personally. So we have email inbox support, Jack Wolf Knives. Those come to me, I answer them. I am the only one who does DMs on Facebook, Instagram, and in my own personal uh, Facebook private messages. So, philosophy point number one, you reach out, you're going to talk to someone who has the authority to make a decision to give you the service you need. Might not always be me, that there might be a time where I have to delegate that, but it'll be one of the last things I ever let go of, because I take a personal responsibility in the satisfaction of anybody who has a Jack Wolf knife or any of our products, honestly. So that's number one. Number two is, it's really actually quite simple. Try to listen and understand the customer's issue, whatever it is. Try to ascertain what they're looking for as a solution. If they're unsure or if it's not clear, provide some options. And every option you provide has to be to their betterment, regardless of what it costs me. Like, it doesn't matter what it costs me. It's not part of the equation. The equation is like, you reached out to me because you were either inconvenienced, curious about something, like, for some reason, you committed time and energy outside of what you should otherwise be doing to contact me. And so I got to figure out why, and I got to figure out how to make it right so that you don't leave frustrated, angry, or disappointed, you know? What'll that do for you? Well, you do it because it's the right thing to do. Like, bottom line, that's the end of the conversation. But the consequence of that is people are satisfied with the customer service. And what is converse? If someone is unsatisfied with customer service, it's terrible for the business,
Yeah.
because this is a small community. People talk. You can write 99 people and wrong one person, and 99 of those people you righted will say nothing. And the one person you wronged will make sure the 99 people you righted hear about the fact you wronged them. Like, that's human nature, you
Yeah.
know? And so it behooves you to write everybody because it's the right thing to do. But there's like a ripple effect from that. People trust you, they'll recommend you, they'll tell other people that, don't worry, he'll take care of you. Like, you want that. I feel very strongly about it. Um, I don't understand how some of these brands don't take it seriously. Like, it dumbfounds me, honestly, how some people will look for any reason to nickel and dime a customer over something. Oh, well, you scratch that hardware, I'm going to charge you $5 for the shipping for some new screws. It's like, just send them the screws, man.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
don't nickel and dime people. It sucks, you know?
I mean, I'm sure your being a collector before you ever started this company has a good deal to do with it. I've talked to people who got into knives, weren't into knives, and who have great customer service. But I've also spoken with some people here who have gotten into knives because they saw an opportunity and they saw an opening in the market and went for it. But they don't have that, or at least when I spoke to them, didn't have that personal connection to knives and the love of collecting them and having them and wanting everything. That extends itself to wanting to like the guy who's making them and selling them to you.
Yeah. Yeah. This is I think probably something that helps me, um, is that I understand the collector and the nuances and idiosyncrasies of that state of mind.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like a bit much, right? Like, let's face it. Sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, right? Like, how did he even notice that?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like, I'm not here to judge people. I'm just here to provide service. Now, there's always that case of someone who just can never be satisfied. You try, you do everything even beyond what's reasonable. And at some
They don't
point,
want to be satisfied, those people.
they don't want to be satisfied. They just want to grouse. Like, you can get to a point with a customer where it's like, hey, look, I'm going to give you your money back. Keep the knife, but I'm not the brand for you. I think you should pursue another brand in the future. I don't think you're going to be satisfied with what we do. I'm sorry it didn't work out. Right? Like, you can do that. But potentially never have to do that.
Yeah.
But I think what some people do is they take that theoretical customer who is impossible, and then they assume every customer is going to be that way, and their attitude reflects this sort of combative position of like, I need to fight these people off because they're going to do this to me. It's like, that's
Yeah.
not the case 99
Could,
out of 100 times.
could be that they themselves are those people.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel for the customers who engage with those brands and get burned. Like, I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want that to happen to anybody. But the only power I have is to essentially, walk the walk. Let's just say. And like, you'll rarely ever hear me even mention our customer service, because like, I don't want to be the one bragging about customer service, because if you are, it's almost a red flag. It's like, you just had good customer service, you wouldn't have to brag about it. It would
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
itself. Like, I really believe that. Let the customers discuss amongst each other the customer service.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned how it can be a little much, the collector. Like I can
Yeah.
remember and this isn't so much anymore. Maybe it's because I'm absolutely awash in amazing knives. But I can remember times where I'd be falling asleep thinking about my collection. Oh, maybe there's a hole in my collection in this area, or maybe I should spend the money on this or that. And it's a collector's mindset, and it's a little bit addictive, and it can be a bit of a well, it can be a difficult state of mind to manage. So I would imagine, as a purveyor, as a maker, as someone in your position, to deal with people who are in the throes of that state of mind, it could, could be a sensitive area to walk around.
Yeah, you just have to. Here's, for anybody listening, doesn't even matter what business you're in. Here's one of my sort of rules about this. If you get an email or text message, or if it's a written communication, that's the point. If it's a written communication and whatever the request is and your answer back is not an absolute matter of fact, like no gray area, no trying to read between the lines. Like if it is just an absolute matter of fact, go ahead and continue that dialogue in writing. Like, hey, Ben, can I get another pocket clip for my Primo jack? I bent it climbing out of the car. Okay, which version do you have? I've got this. I've got the black micarta. Cool. Send me your address. It's on its way. Like that can be handled in writing. It's just very cut and dry. Or you might get a message that says, hey man, my pocket clip is a little loose. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be like this. I just got this thing. What should I do? It's like, that's not an easy conversation back and forth necessarily. I just write back, hey man, here's my cell phone number. Call me. Like I've given out my cell phone number, I don't know how many times. Like at least half the time there's a customer service inquiry, I don't even want to go back and forth in writing. I just want to talk. Yeah. I want to hear you explain to me what's going on. I want to hear the tone in your voice. I want to pick up a few of the clues perhaps that were left out of the written message. I want to listen. That's the key word. I want to listen. By listening to your actual voice, I now have a way better understanding than me trying to read between the lines potentially on a written message.
Yeah.
Sometimes you think this person's fuming mad. They're not. Or sometimes you think they're calm and they're actually upset. So that's another thing. Like customers, they're reaching out to you and they don't want to be. Like they want to be doing something else. They're reaching out to you because they feel a need to get something resolved. So do them the courtesy of getting on the phone and listening to what they have to say. It'll help you resolve things faster and to a higher level of their satisfaction. 100%.
Oh yeah. And they will feel like, oh my gosh, this guy's called me. That's amazing. Or anyone called me, let alone the owner of the company.
All the time. I cannot believe I'm talking to the owner of the company. Like, holy crap, you contacted me back within 10 minutes and gave me your phone number. Like this never happens. I'm like, it's a shame that it never happens. This is how it used to be, but all these modern conveniences suck the humanity out of some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Please
don't get me started. And you could on that. I want to talk about my 3 most carried knives recently. The Tango, I carried this. I've got snail trails as the day is long all over this thing. Got the Scuffle, and I've got, don't want to cut myself, the Collusion. Let's talk about JW Collab. What is JW Collab and how did this come about?
Yes. So this was sort of the confluence of a few things I wanted to accomplish. So the first thing was when you create a design language, which I know that's not your favorite term, right? Design language, is that there was some colorway was the one you don't like. Yeah. So, but I feel like design language is right up there with colorway potentially.
It's up there.
When you create a design language, or I should say a recognizable pattern of knives in a catalog, you created a box. Now that's good and bad. It's good because someone could be like, that's a Jack Wolf. I don't even see the label. I know it's a Jack Wolf. Like that's good. Arguably you need that.
Yeah.
However, it defines you and it becomes hard to have a reason to step outside of that box. Like to have the story to tell as to why you did. It just looks random. So I wanted to find a way to produce something that is different from my regular stuff, partly just to keep things interesting and also to try to reach customers who aren't turned on by traditional knife styles. The other thing is, one of the cool things about this business is all the awesome people that I've become friends with and had a chance to sort of collaborate with, but not on products available to the market. So for example, Nick Rogers, the Scuffle, he's helped me with CAD work. Chris Ortiz, we're friends. I visited him in California a bunch of times. He's helped me at my table at the CCKS California Custom Knife Show. He helped me do CAD work. We kind of created the first gunslinger together. He really helped me understand how to lay that knife out. Jacob Ginsburg, who did the collusion, I know him all these years as I've known Chris. He's now out in Phoenix in the shop space with Corey, my friend of 25 years. Like, these are guys I'm friends with. And so it's like, I want to do projects with these guys. And so that was when and also it takes the pressure off me to keep producing designs. Like, that's another key element to this, is like, I'd like to put some more designs in my pipeline that I delegated, because it gets really hard, as we talked about in our last Thursday Night Knives, to switch between sort of running the business side of things and then designing a knife side of things. They are contradictory. So I was like, man, I've got 3 of these. Like, I'm going to commit to 3 of these projects, and it's not just going to be these random knives. Like, I'm going to brand them as part of a series of knives, and they're collaborative. And so collab starts with a C, but could also start with a K. JWK,
Yeah.
Wolf collab. Like, that kind of stuff comes to me pretty easy, that marketing kind of shtick. These projects were started, I was looking, I think we started these projects in July 2023.
Oh,
I was looking at the first CAD file me and Nick did together. It was from July 2023. So I think the first one I did was with Chris the Tango. So these projects did not happen overnight. Every one of these projects, well, not so much the fixed blade, but for sure the 2 folders was new ground, like things we haven't done before.
Yeah.
First thumb stud, first compound grind. There's all kinds of firsts in the Scuffle. First internal stop pin, first back flipper, thicker blade stock, thicker handles. Like, there's a bunch of unique stuff, hidden hardware, internal threaded inserts in the scales. Like, so to me, it was like, another thing was, this is an opportunity for us to break new ground. Like, we can test features, we can sort of prove these things out, and then I can take from these and implement them wider across all my products if I so choose. So it's kind of like a breeding ground for innovation. It's an opportunity to open up my catalog to more modern or different designs, attract new customers to the brand. It's just a cool story to tell,
Yeah.
Like, guys like to see collaborations within our niche, I think. And it helped me put designs in my pipeline when I was otherwise really busy. So yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot wrapped up in that whole thing.
It's like your skunk works kind of
Yeah.
where you get to innovate and do stuff that's out of your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And I
And
had
it
sorry.
gets me working with my buddies. And it's like 2 heads are better than 1. So it's like, it's just cool. Like, it's been a real hoot for me.
And your buddies happen to be, at least so far, happen to be so incredibly talented. I've loved Nick Rogers stuff since his very first prototype, of which I'm lucky to own one of those. Jacob Ginsburg, I've been following him on Instagram for ages and have been coveting his knife. I had a chickpea here on loan years ago, and I've always loved his work. So clean and beautiful, which is interesting. Well, for a number of reasons, but his work is so clean, so beautiful. And then Cerberus knives, I had a glancing knowledge of, but the Tango, man, that just blew me away when this came out. A 3-inch modern folder that absolutely dominated my front right pocket, which is rare for a knife of that size.
Yeah. Those guys, and you know what? they're all younger dudes in their 20s. Like, that's the other thing is like, I'm turning 45 in less than a month. Like, I'm not in my 20s anymore. The older we get, the wiser we get, the less cool we get. Like,
Yeah.
that's how the world works, you know? So it's like, okay, I can be with these younger dudes, hopefully do a little mentoring, like lead by example, and then they can bring what's fresh, interesting, and cool to the table, you know, because that's what the young guys, that's what they got going on. So it's been a great success. I've been super happy with it. You know, there's reasons you could argue against it. Like, it's very time consuming. It costs me more because I pay royalties. Like, I don't need them, but it's like, those are all the wrong reasons to destroy a project like that. It's like,
Yeah.
we're not doing this for all those sensible reasons. We're doing this because it's fun, it's exciting, it's interesting, and I want to. It has to make sense, of course, you know, but it's like, it's hard. And if it's hard, it's probably good, you know?
Yeah, that's true. And also, I mean, what a way to not typecast yourself or typecast your company. You at this point, the one thing that you can know about Jack Wolf Knives, in my opinion, is the quality. It's always going to be a quality build. It's going to be like super high quality build, and it's always going to be beautiful. But I don't know what to expect from you guys. I don't know if you're going to come out with a big Bowie knife or a tiny little, you know, keychain knife. Anything could happen at this point. You know, starting with the slip joints, uh, um, maneuvering all around the slip joint space, and then going out into fixed blades and modern folders. Uh, that's the cool thing. You're not typecast, but you can still identify. By the way, this thing is so amazing, but you can still identify a Jack Wolf knife. You know.
Yeah. And what I hope more than anything is like that the guys that are into it are having fun, right? Like, we're having fun. We hope it translates to you guys who are coming along on the journey with us, that you're having fun, you know?
Mhm.
And for people not knowing what's coming next, I couldn't ask for anything more. We're trying to keep it interesting, exciting, engaging, and not, you know, delivering what's expected, which is a quality knife and, you know, good service and a good time.
So how far out ahead? I mean, you've got all these lines in the water or irons in the fire. I think that's more apropos. You have all these irons in the fire. How far out do you know what's coming next?
Well, I'm already committed halfway into next year,
Okay.
and I'm already working now on what's going to happen in 2027. Like, right now, I'm focused on what rears its head in 2027. That's kind of where I'm at. Like, starting new projects, working on that part of the pipeline. I really need to be about 2 years out at all times, which is
Yeah.
crazy. Which is crazy because it's hard. It makes it hard to appreciate what's happening now when so much of your thoughts and efforts behind the scenes are focused on stuff people will see in a year and a half to 2 years.
Yeah, and it raises the inevitable question, you know, especially with a trendy kind of product world as knives are. What's going to be hot? You know, I'm sure that comes into your thinking. I'm sure that's also where JW Collab could help.
Yeah. Yeah, you're trying to balance being flexible and nimble with good forward thinking and planning. And there's production time cycles that you have to consider. So that's really, it's challenging for sure. And every once in a while you'll have to pivot. Like, you know, you might think today, like, oh, we're gonna be able to, I can make, I could do, I don't know, you know, just trying to think here. Like, you could say the future is this, insert whatever this is. And you could start planning to do a bunch of that. And then 6 months from now, that first one comes out, and then the second and the third. It's like, the future is not that. The future is definitely not that, because
Yeah,
the present isn't that. So
yeah,
we got to shift gears, you know? And so I try to have a bit of a mix going on here. Like, we're working on projects in and the good, better, best price ranges. Like I've got projects going in all three of those, and I can sort of try to gauge the market and temper my offerings to meet what I expect that to be. And I think rationally speaking, like you can make some assumptions that are probably pretty reasonable. Like, let's say you have a mix of, let's just break it up into two chunks. You've got affordable items and premium items. Okay, what is the split? Well, it's probably like 70-30, 80-20, something like that. It's not 50-50, like
Yeah.
how many Lexuses does Toyota sell for every Toyota? It's not 1-to-1, you
Yeah.
know? So somewhere there's like, you could spitball that number and you're probably not going to be too far off just based on your observation of the world, you know? And so if you sort of aim in that general direction, I think you'll be okay. And then you sort of fine tune as you go.
Yeah. That's I mean, that's exactly how I see it on the road anyway. So USA made, you made something, it was like a scalpel. It's not a knife that I've experienced. I don't think I saw it when I was at Blade Show Atlanta, but I know it was a very exclusive, I think maybe a dealer exclusive. What am I talking about?
Yeah. So we've been, one of the criticisms is, hey, you guys need more USA stuff. So I've been working on that. That is, if you are not yourself a manufacturer, very difficult to procure products that are made in the USA that you can get in sufficient quantities in reasonable times. So we've had two major, I would say one minor, I don't even know, I'd call either of them major. We'll just call them special projects. So the one you're referring to is called the prickly pear.
Yes.
And that was a scalpel with a tanto. The blade is shorter than the handle, so it's the scalpel style. And that was actually designed by Taylor Cortez. So Taylor is the leather maker here in Phoenix, another guy in his 20s. We've spent a lot of time together. He's made a lot of leather slips for me. And so we've collaborated in that regard. And he came to me and said, I've got this really cool scalpel I want to make. There you go.
Yeah.
And, like, can we do this project together? And I'm like, okay, I'm interested. So we ended up, I can't even remember how we got the lead at this point because it's been a while, but we found a small manufacturer out of the San Diego area called Misfits Machining. And it's a gentleman named Brandon Garby, and he's a really cool guy. He's, in the military. He's a Marine, and I think he's still career military, but he has this as an additional business. And so I flew out there, met with him, and sort of negotiated the project. And so the collaboration between me and Taylor was, all right, Taylor, like, you'll produce the leather slips and contribute that towards the project. I'll fund the knives and we'll both promote. We'll distribute off my website. So those never went to a dealer. They were all sold direct by me.
Oh, okay.
And we'll share in the proceeds, accordingly. So yeah, that's how we structured that project, and it was fun. Now the challenge with made in the USA stuff is it's more expensive, obviously. And to then be able to pay a dealer to distribute them, like to have an additional margin, like call it a hand in the pot, really pushes the purchase price up high, like the customer's purchase price. And so like those are $200. And I'm not making, like, I'm selling them direct. So basically I sell those to the customer for what would equate to a wholesale price to a dealer, because I don't want them to be priced to where they're less likely to sell,
Yeah.
So that'll be the case with probably all of my USA made projects, is those will be sold direct by Jack Wolf Knives. And because I didn't want that to be a $300 knife.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily a good
It makes it harder to distribute, right?
Yeah.
I would make the same if I sold that to a dealer. Then the dealer's going to mark it up and sell it, but they're harder. It's harder to sell at that price point.
Right.
Now, if I sell them direct, I can at least get them sold for a price point I think is better, more attractive to the customer. It's just I don't have the reach of my dealer network. So that's the risk, is like, hey, like we can offer what I think is an attractive price, but people aren't really accustomed to buying from my website. Like, you don't buy Jack Wolf knives from Jack Wolf Knives. You buy leather slips, you buy t-shirts, coffee mugs, you buy the knickknacks.
Yeah.
But the knives you get from DLT or Knife Center, Blade HQ, or wherever.
Right.
Traditional pocket knives.
So not a good long-term strategy, or not a good company-wide strategy, but kind of a novelty and something that you can offer from time to time that will get people excited, people for whom USA made is 100% important.
Yeah, icing on the cake, right? Like, the dealer distributed products are like the bread and butter, right? And then the special projects the USA made direct to consumers is gravy on the plate, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it's time consuming, but it's like, we do it because we want to have these offerings out there. You can make the case it's not worth it. It's way easier to just continue to source overseas, distribute them through your dealer network, focus on growing that side of it, because it's less energy than going direct to consumer. But like, it's not what guides me all the time. What guides me is like wanting to put the offerings out there that I would want to buy myself, or listening to what the consumers are telling me they want, and sometimes stepping outside of what seems to be the easy way to do things and doing it and seeing how it goes.
It also just lends itself to, I mean, we talked about 5 different lines of knives tonight, and that's a 6th. That's just, diversifying your offerings. And I think that's really great, especially when it's when you've already established yourself. And the prickly pear totally looks like a Jack Wolf knife. And I'm not sure if it's because of the surface treatment of the handles or what it is, but those are identifiable as Jack Wolf knives.
I'm glad you see that. We did put the starburst pattern milled into the G10 scales, and it does have a Taylor Cortez sheath, which you'll see branded with my logo. Now, the other thing we did that was really, really cool was the projects we've done with LT Wright.
Oh yeah.
So we did. So this could be an hour story in and of itself. So I want to really boil this down. There's a mutual admiration between the crew at LT Wright and the crew at Jack Wolf Knives. Like, we love what they do. Their guys love what we do. And we sort of all got to know each other at Blade Show 2 years ago, or where I don't know the timeline, but this has been cooking for a minute. And one of the guys who works for LT and Donnie, my guy, like, they were scheming. Like, we need a collaboration. Like, this has to happen. Okay. So they get LT to come over to the table and we get introductions, and he's looking at all my stuff, and like, that dude likes the traditional styles, And so, oh, I like this one. I like that. This is cool. My guys are always pulling out your knives in the shop, this and that, So we sort of get acquainted. So more talks happen. The next show happens. We talk about like, hey, how cool would it be to take one of the Jack Wolf styles and have it made by you guys, right? Like, you've never done anything quite like that before. LT Wright makes primarily bushcraft knives. That's what outdoor knives, bushcraft knives. And so he was at the show, and I'm like, which one of these do you want to do? And he picked up the vampire. He's like, I really like this one.
This one, right?
Yeah. Yep. And so I'm like, all right. So I ended up flying out there, and we made a prototype, and I've visited there 3 times. Like, it's all secret squirrel stuff I got going on.
I love that.
But ultimately, we produced some small batches of handmade vampire hunters, is what we called them. Ironwood dyed bone. And people loved it. They loved that. It was an LT Wright, like one they've never seen. People were like, they loved it because it was a Jack Wolf made by LT in the USA, Magna Cut. Like, it was just super cool. The downside is they're very labor intensive to make. because I've been to their shop and watched them make knives. They make knives quickly with not a lot of hands on deck. And so a lot of the design elements in their knives are such that they can be executed in an efficient manner by different guys in the shop.
Mm.
But the Vampire Hunter like has all these facets on the handle. And we were doing ironwood and bone, which are individual scales that have to be glued and shaped and stuff. So it's just the type of project where if I could get more of them, I know I could sell more of them,
Yeah. Yep.
but they're just time consuming. So, I've been trying to figure out with LT, like, is there anything we can do to revise this and make them a little easier to make, right? So we can get more of them. So we'll see. Like, those guys are very busy in their shop. They have a year's backlog at least from just open POs with their dealers. So there's only so much they can do. And LT, like, I'll tell you what, Bob, if you ever get a chance to go out his way, Eastern Ohio, it's about 20 minutes or so west of the Pittsburgh airport.
Mm-hmm. I drive right by there every time I drive home.
You should just reach out to him and arrange a time to do a little Knife Junkie tour. They have a little podcast station. It's just so impressive. And it's not just the operation, it's LT is a leader, the camaraderie amongst his guys, and to see this like teamwork going on in there and just to get the whole vibe is like, I can't impress upon you how cool it is. You would really, really like it.
So I had him on the show recently, and I really took to him. What a great guy! And I follow him on social media, and the videos they put out from their shop are just, I love watching them. It's like I want to be there instead of where I am at the time, which is usually work.
Right.
Just a real quick note. I happen to have an LT Wright mini Northern Hunter here, and I just happen to have a Vampire. That was not intended, but it's kind of if these two had a baby.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
very
So, I could talk about how awesome LT and those guys are forever. And honestly, they are quietly some of the best marketers in our industry. Do you know they have a forum like www.theirforumname.com? Like, they have their own forum that's been around since before Facebook group called the Pout House. And they have like paying members, and it is a highly active forum. Like, their guys love it. And LT's guys are actively engaging all the time in there. And they do so many cool little special projects in the shop. Like, they do such a good job, engaging with their folks. It's really, really cool. There's a lot to learn from those guys, and they're so humble. Like, they will not toot their own horn, but I'll sit here and toot it all day because it's like, wow, you guys run an efficient business. You make high quality knives. Everybody loves you. LT, you're this honest, hardworking, humble, like father figure. It's not for show. That's who you really are. You have these young guys who would die for you, and you have these consumers who you just know so well how to keep them happy and interested in what you do. It's very impressive.
So as we wrap up here, I mean, yes, he is awesome. And a great shop, and who knows, maybe he might not be on the young up and coming side of things, but he's on the other side, the wise side. So who knows, maybe there's a JW collab in there, but whether or not there is, you've already done a collaboration with him, and I hope there's more, because I would love to get a bone version. I think that would be so cool.
I'd say all this about him because it's like, that's the spirit of what we're trying to do here. We're trying to have fun collaborative projects with other people in the community to ultimately bring you guys something that's better than I would have just brought by myself. I think LT saw the value in that too. It's like, hey, we can offer a product here that is going to be different from what our guys expect. And it's going to be something to talk about, and it's going to be something people really like. And it's that two heads are better than one sort of philosophy. So yeah, man, I know that's part of what you wanted to talk about today is the collab stuff. produces something that I could not have produced on my own.
Amen. I love creative collaboration. There's nothing like it. All the greatest things we have are due to that. Ben, thank you so much for coming on, spending your time with us here on the Knife Junkie podcast. It's always a pleasure, sir. And for those of you who are patrons, gentlemen junkies, we will be continuing this conversation for a little while. So be sure to check that out. All right. Thank you so much, Ben. It's been a pleasure, sir.
Thank you very much.
Ever strop a knife again, even though it gets no real use? Face up to what you are. You're a knife junkie.
There he goes, ladies and gentlemen. Ben Belkin of Jack Wolf Knives. I admire the man greatly. He's a great dude, and also someone to keep your eye on in terms of you got a business, doesn't matter what it is. Take notes from that guy. He knows what he's talking about. Always a pleasure to have Ben with us. For Jim working his magic behind the switcher, I'm Bob DeMarco saying until next time, don't take dull for an answer.
Thanks for listening to the Knife Junkie podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and review at reviewthepodcast.com. For show notes for today's episode, additional resources, and to listen to past episodes, visit our website, TheKnifeJunkie.com. You can also watch our latest videos on YouTube at TheKnifeJunkie.com/YouTube.